just having that right heart posture. That's having that right heart posture towards the Lord. Even though this doesn't make sense. And that's the 5 things I think that John Bevere, like there was like a chapter where John Bevere talks about what holy fear looks like. How you know you have the holy fear of the Lord is when you obey swiftly, you obey quickly, you don't grieve the Holy Spirit. When you obey, even when it doesn't make sense to you, you don't lean on your own understanding, but you trust in the Lord and how He does it in the process. You obey even when it's painful, even when you're suffering. You obey even when you don't see a personal benefit, and then you obey to completion. You obey to the end. You finish well. That's having longevity with your obedience to God. It's not like, oh, I obeyed for, this year and then next year we're just going to, no. It's like obeying to the end until He comes back, right? Until Jesus comes back for His bride. And so I love that because that has just stuck with, that book literally changed my mindset and my heart so much. It was so good. So please go get that because you won't be the same. But yeah, so it's not easy. But I saw that God was putting me in instances where there was a lack, and then out of that, I had to partner with God to help me produce the fruits of the Spirit, because like joy, like I was in a lot of the past year, I've been in some dark spaces where it was hard to wake up in the morning. But out of that, I had to lean on God to find the joy, and I did. And it doesn't make sense. The peace that surpasses all understanding, it doesn't make sense. So, that is the best thing. And like, I know that God knows like specifically what we all need to go through, and so He'll specifically have things happen, for each of us so that our character can be built and we can become more like Christ. And I know it's biblical that suffering, like we will have trouble in this life, like suffering is a part of it, and to suffer for Christ is purposeful. But to suffer just because we're being worldly, like there's no purpose to that. There's no purpose and there's no redemption in that. But suffering for Christ, it should be an honor, even though it's hard. Okay, it is hard. I'm not going to I'm not sugarcoating that. It is so hard, but you see the fruits of it, literally the fruits of the Spirit when you do it, and you're becoming more Christ-like. And that's what we want as believers. That's exactly what we want. So test the Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit, right? When people say test the Spirit, that's what they're talking about. So make sure you're really looking at yourself and seeing where you're lacking and taking it to God and seeing it in other people too. So